Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum and good evening to all. I'm AK Monjurul Islam, back live and exclusive before you with a new topic from my page Monjur's English Solutions. So today I'm going to deal with a particular topic of psycholinguistics, and that is the role of human brain in language production and language comprehension. That means language understanding. So this topic is actually a branch of linguistics, psycholinguistics. So I think the students who are studying ELT and linguistics will find this live session quite helpful for them. So without further delay, I would like to start my session because time is short and I have to finish it early, but it's a lengthy topic. I'll try to concise it and I'll try to make you understand within my range as effectively as I can. And I'll try my best to make you understand the role of human brain in case of language production and language understanding. So let us begin. Actually, today we are not only dealing with psycholinguistics, but also we are dealing with medical science and neuroscience to some extent, because linguistics actually is a subject of science. Although English is a subject of art, but linguistics is a subject of science. So we are going to deal not only with psycholinguistics today, but also with neuroscience and medical science to some extent. Okay, so first of all, how the human beings actually came to know that human brain plays the major role in case of language production and language understanding. How they actually came to know that? Well, let us begin with the ancient Egyptians. It was actually the ancient Egyptians who first of all invented or discovered that humans are unable to produce and comprehend language when they are somehow hurt on their head. When their brain is somehow hurt or damaged. So they named this stage as aphasia. I repeat, they named this stage as aphasia. The state of inability to produce and comprehend language caused by brain hemorrhage is called aphasia. I repeat, the state of inability to produce and comprehend language caused by brain hemorrhage is known as aphasia. And people who did research on this aphasia, people who do research on this aphasia, they're called aphasiologists. So if your brain somehow gets damaged, if you get hurt on your brain, if you are hurt over the head and your brain gets damaged somehow, then you will not be able to produce and comprehend language. It was first discovered by the ancient Egyptians, and they named this state as aphasia. Okay, so the aphasia patients, they actually cannot produce and comprehend language. The state of inability to produce language is known as Broca's aphasia, and the state of inability to comprehend or understand language is known as Wernicke's aphasia. So aphasia is of two types. I repeat, aphasia is of two types. Number one is Broca's aphasia. The state of inability to produce language caused by brain hemorrhage is called Broca's aphasia, and the state of inability to comprehend or understand language caused by brain hemorrhage is known as Wernicke's aphasia. So we will deal with these things later on. So it was the ancient Egyptians that I have already mentioned who first of all invented that humans, if they somehow get hurt over their brain and their brain gets damaged, they are not able to produce and comprehend language. And they named this state as aphasia. So later on, many ideas came, like some people think that humans can produce language because they have got larger brain. than other animals. Other animals' brain is not so large as the humans, and that's why other animals cannot produce language. Humans can produce language. There are some misconceptions like that, and people used to believe that earlier, that human brain is larger in size, and that's why the other animals cannot produce language. And as humans have larger brains, that's why they're able to produce language. So this was actually a completely misconception, a wrong conception. Later on, science explained it and proved this conception as wrong. So I am going to tell you how they proved it. They proved it wrong, this conception completely wrong. So how did they do it? I am going to explain it. Okay, if you consider an elephant, if you consider a whale, their brains are even larger than humans. So why are not they able to produce and comprehend language? What's their problem? They have larger brains than humans. Human brain is actually 1.5 kg in weight. I repeat, human brain weighs almost 1.5 kg, almost 1.5 kg, whereas the brain of a monkey weighs almost half kg. So if you consider the brain of a monkey and the brain of a human being, and if you actually compare between the two, you would find that human brain is larger in size and it weighs more than the weight of monkey's brain. Human brain weighs 1.5, almost 1.5 kg, and the brain of a monkey weighs nearly half kg. So apparently it might look like that humans have got larger brains than monkeys. That's why humans can produce language, and monkeys have smaller brains. That's why they are not able to produce language. This is not the case actually. So if it were the case, then elephants or whales could have produced language like humans, because they have larger brains than humans. So why aren't they able to produce and comprehend language like humans? So with this logic, we can easily prove that this is a wrong conception, that humans have larger brain than other animals, and that's why they are able to produce and comprehend language. This is completely a misconception, and this is a wrong idea. So later on, it was proved by science, as I have already explained. And even if you consider an infant's brain, a human infant, its brain is actually almost half kg, like an adult monkey's brain. But when he gradually grows up, his brain actually develops and it becomes 1.5 kg. In course of time, it becomes 1.5 kg when he reaches his adulthood, or when he actually reaches his puberty. His brain gets the weight of 1.5 kg. That means this is quite larger. When he was a child, his brain was 0.5 kg, almost half kg, and now his brain, when he becomes an adult, the weight of the brain has been increased into 1.5 kg. So gradually the size and weight of a human brain increases in course of time, but it is actually 1.5 kg when he reaches his adulthood. So an adult human brain weighs 1.5 kg. But as I have already told you, there are some other cases, like some dwarfs are there. I mean, dwarfs who are short in size and who cannot grow much. They're by birth they are actually dwarfs, and they cannot actually get or reach the 1.5 kg, because their brain actually from the childhood it actually develops, but it sometimes cannot reach up to 1.5 kg. Their size and their weight of the brain sometimes is not actually 1.5 kg. So they are able to produce and comprehend language, the dwarfs, and their brain functioning like the adults. So how they are able to produce and comprehend language? This is called nanocephalic dwarfism in case of medical science. It's a medical term that is called nanocephalic dwarfism. The dwarfs, their brain actually cannot reach up to 1.5 kg sometimes. So some dwarfs have smaller brain because they cannot grow much, and the size of their brain cannot grow much, and that's why their brain doesn't develop, the size of their brain doesn't develop as much as it should, but they are still able to produce language and comprehend language. So the size and weight of human brain do not play any role in case of language production and comprehension. This is actually proved by science, because an elephant or a whale actually has larger brain than human beings, but they are not able to produce language like us. So the size and weight of human brain do not play any role at all in case of language production and comprehension. Then how the brain functions in case of language production and comprehension? Well, I'm going to explain that to you. It was Kimura, a name of a physician. She was a neurologist. She did an experiment. She injected sodium amytal. A physician named Kimura injected sodium amytal over the left brain. Human brain has got two parts. One is the left brain, the left side or the left portion of the brain is known as left hemisphere, and the right portion of the brain is known as the right hemisphere. So human brain is divided into two parts, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, and it looks like a boxing glove. If two boxing gloves are connected, they look like human brain. So human brain looks like two boxing gloves connected with each other. So the left portion of human brain is known as the left hemisphere, and the right part or the right portion of human brain is known as the right hemisphere. So Kimura, what she did, she injected sodium amytal on the left hemisphere of the brain and thereby paralyzed it. Sodium amytal is actually name of a chemical that paralyzes human organs. So she injected sodium amytal on the left brain and paralyzed it. And she discovered that humans are not able to produce and comprehend language. When their left portion of the brain is paralyzed, then humans are not able to produce or comprehend language. And thereby she came to the conclusion that the left portion of the brain, that means the left brain, the left part of the brain or the left hemisphere, plays the major role in case of language production and comprehension. What she did another experiment. She paralyzed the right brain by injecting sodium amytal. I repeat, she paralyzed the right hemisphere of the brain by injecting sodium amytal. And she discovered that humans are not able to move their organs. They are not able to move their hands. They are not able to move their lips. They are not able to move their heads. They are not able to move at all. They become completely paralyzed. So thereby she came to the conclusion that the right hemisphere or the right part of human brain plays the major role in case of motor activity. That means in case of moving the organs. Just like I'm moving my hands, this is actually possible because of the right hemisphere of the brain. If it gets damaged, if it is somehow damaged, then I will not be able to move my hands, or I will not be able to move my lips. I will not be able to move my heads. I will become a vegetable. I will become paralyzed. Am I clear? So from this experiment of Kimura, the neurologist, we come to the conclusion that the left hemisphere of the brain plays main role or the major role in case of language production and comprehension, and the right hemisphere of the brain plays major role in case of language understanding and language comprehension. I hope you understand. So what you see actually when somehow our left brain gets damaged when by accident, it might be, suppose I had a bus accident or a train accident or a car accident, the left brain somehow got damaged, the left hemisphere, then I will not be able to produce and comprehend language. And if the right hemisphere of my brain somehow gets damaged, then I will not be able to move my organs. I will become paralyzed. In case of brain stroke also, we have already seen some brain stroke patients who actually got a brain stroke, and after that brain stroke, they are not able to speak. They're not able to communicate. They're not able to speak because their left brain is damaged. They're not able to comprehend language and produce language because their left part of the brain somehow got damaged because of that brain stroke. Almost 80% aphasia caused by brain strokes. I repeat, almost 80% of aphasia is caused by brain strokes. So in case of right hemisphere also, if in case of brain strokes, we have seen some patients, they are not able to move their organs. They become paralyzed because the right hemisphere of the brain gets damaged and they are not able to move their organs. They become paralyzed. Now I would like to ask you a very interesting question. I hope you will try to answer the question with your logic. Suppose both the brain, both hemispheres of the brain, of human brain, gets damaged, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. The whole brain gets damaged somehow by an accident, or somebody hurt you, or you got hurt on the brain, and both of your brain, both parts of your brain, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, they got damaged. What will happen? Well, many things can happen. You can die, or you can actually become paralyzed completely. You are not able to produce and comprehend language, nor even you can move your organs. That means we call that state as coma. I repeat, some people are in comas. They are kept in ICU. What happens in case of those coma patients? They are not able to produce and comprehend language. Neither they are able to produce and comprehend language, nor they are able to move their body organs. So they become vegetables. They become completely paralyzed. They are coma patients. So in case of coma patients, there are few chances of survival, but some patients have survived, some have not. It's up to the Almighty. Anything can happen. But as I have already told you, in case of the coma patients, both their brains are damaged. They are not able to produce and comprehend language, and moreover, they are not able to move their body organs. Am I clear? This is what happens in case of coma patients. But as I am telling you, that their heart is pumping the blood. In case of the coma patients, their heart is pumping the blood, and their heart is active, but their brain is damaged. Brain is completely inactive, and that's why they're not able to communicate with you. They're paralyzed. They're not able to speak, not able to understand language, speak language, and they're not able to move their body organs. And that's what happens in case of coma patients. Anyway, now let us talk about other things. Some more researches, some more cases. Later on, Paul Broca and Carl Wernicke, they are also neurologists and neurosurgeons and physicians. They did some experiment. As I have already told you, the left part of the brain deals with language production and comprehension. It is the main role of the left portion of the brain. There are other roles also. As we are dealing with language production and comprehension, we are only talking about the role of human brain in case of language production and comprehension. But human brain has got numerous numbers of roles. So, the left brain, plays main role in case of language production and comprehension. That is called the cerebral dominance. That means the cerebral dominance of left brain is language production and comprehension, and there is another cerebral dominance of left brain, or the left portion of the brain, that is memory, language production, and language understanding. These are the cerebral dominance of the left hemisphere of the brain. I repeat, memory, language production, and language comprehension. These are the cerebral dominance of the left hemisphere of the brain. And in case of the right hemisphere of the brain, the motor activity is the cerebral dominance of the right hemisphere of the brain. I repeat, the motor activity, that means the movement of body organs, this is actually the cerebral dominance of the right hemisphere or the right portion of the brain. Later on, Paul Broca did some research on it. He's a physician, a neurologist, a neurosurgeon. He discovered that there is a portion in the left hemisphere of the brain, a certain area in the left hemisphere of the brain, that is actually responsible for language production. He named that area Broca's area because he discovered it. So that area was named after Paul Broca, Broca's area. So it is because of the Broca's area located in the left hemisphere of the brain, humans are able to produce language. And there is another area in the left hemisphere of the brain that was discovered by Carl Wernicke. Carl Wernicke was actually another neurosurgeon. He is also a neurosurgeon, neurologist, or physician. He discovered another region in the right hemisphere of the brain and he named it Wernicke's area. So Wernicke's area is responsible for language understanding. So both these two persons, both these two neurologists, Paul Broca and Carl Wernicke, they discovered two areas consecutively or respectively. Those are Broca's area and Wernicke's area, located in the left hemisphere of the brain. So Broca's area, that is located in the left hemisphere of the brain, plays the major role in case of language production, and the Wernicke's area, that is located in the left hemisphere of the brain, invented by Carl Wernicke, plays the major role in case of language understanding. That means Broca's area plays the main role in case of language production, whereas the Wernicke's area plays the major role in case of language understanding. So we discovered two areas that are located in the left hemisphere of the brain, Broca's area invented by Paul Broca and Wernicke's area invented by Carl Wernicke. These are responsible for language production and comprehension respectively. I hope you understand. So, as I was saying, human brain, the left hemisphere of the brain has got another major function, that is memory, language production, and language comprehension. These are the main functions of the left hemisphere of the brain, and the main function of the right hemisphere of the brain is motor activity. As I am moving my hands, it is possible because of the right hemisphere of the brain. Am I clear? And both these areas, both these portions, both these hemispheres are connected with a very sophisticated tissue that is called corpus callosum. I repeat, both these human brains, the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain, looks like boxing gloves. Two boxing gloves are connected with each other, looks like human brain. So the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain are connected with a very sophisticated tissue that is called corpus callosum. So if the corpus callosum somehow gets separated, if it is torn apart, and if both the brain somehow gets separated, what will happen? If I cut the corpus callosum, the patient will die. But in case of accidents, there are many cases that are evident, like some patients have survived and one of the brain have started to function more effectively than the other one. I repeat, if corpus callosum somehow gets torn apart, it might be by accident, if somebody cuts it, what happens? As I have already told you, if we cut it with a scissor, humans will die. But in case of accidents, there are a lot of cases that patients have survived, and one of the brain, one part of the brain, either it is the left hemisphere or the right hemisphere, has started functioning more effectively than the other one. That means probably your left brain will be more active than the right hemisphere, or the right hemisphere may be more active than the left hemisphere. So these are the cases. So people who do research in over the human brains, they are called aphasiologists. I mean, there are two types of researchers in case of researching over the human brains. There are two types of researchers. One is the localist and the other one is the generalist. I repeat, people who do research over human brain, they are divided into two categories. Number one is the localist and number two is the generalist. So localists are like specialists. They are specialists in particular areas, like specialist doctors. Cardiologist is a specialist in case of heart diseases. Neonatologist in case of they are specialist in case of child diseases. Am I clear? Nephrologist, they are specialist in case of kidney diseases. Like them, the localists actually are specialists in particular areas of the brain. But in case of the generalist, they are the jack of all trades, master of none. I repeat, jack of all trades, master of none. It's a very nice idiom that you will learn today. Jack of all trades, master of none. That means they know everything partially, but they are not specialist in a particular field. I repeat, they are specialist. They are not specialist in any field, but they know every part to some extent. They have knowledge in all areas, but they are not special in any areas. They don't have any specialty in any area, like the MBBS doctors. They can actually give you treatment, all treatments, but they are not specialist in any particular field. So the generalists who do research over human brain, they know all the portions generally. I mean, they have got an overall idea, but they are not specialist in any field. But in case of the localist who do research over the human brain, the localists actually are specialists in particular areas. Am I clear? So they will be able to explain everything in details in particular fields. So this is how human brain functions in case of language production and comprehension. The left portion of the brain plays major role in case of language production and comprehension, and the right hemisphere of the brain that plays major role in case of motor activity. I mean, the movement of the body parts or body organs. So we have seen in case of Bangla movies that the heroes get hurt over the brain and they forget their memories. They cannot recognize their heroine. Okay, they cannot recognize anyone. Suddenly, after a long period of time, they got hurt over their brain once again, and they regain their memory. So, is it true? If somebody lost his memory, and again, if I, hurt him over the brain, will he regain his memory or not? Well, actually, this is completely bullshit. Do not believe it. If you actually hurt over the brain once again, situation might be worse. He might die. But this is actually not true. But gradually, in course of time, through medication, through proper treatment, your memory can be better. I mean, the patient can regain his memory in course of time, through medication, through proper treatment. But if you actually hurt him over the brain, he might die. So what we see in the Bangla films, those are bullshits. That hero got hurt over the brain and he lost his memory. He cannot recognize his heroine or his beloved. Later on, when he gets hurt over the brain, once again he regains his memory. This is completely bullshit. This is not true. And don't try this. Situation might get worse. So this is what happens in case of aphasia patients. They actually lose their memories sometimes, and they cannot produce and comprehend languages properly because the left part of their brain somehow gets damaged, and that's why they're not able to produce and comprehend language. So the inability to produce language is known as Broca's aphasia, and the inability to comprehend language is known as Wernicke's aphasia. As I mentioned earlier, aphasia is of two types. One is called the Broca's aphasia and the other one is called the Wernicke's aphasia. So the state of inability to produce language caused by brain hemorrhage is known as Broca's aphasia, and the state of inability to comprehend or understand language caused by brain hemorrhage is known as Wernicke's aphasia. Am I clear? I hope you understand. Now I would like to explain another thing that is called REA, that is right ear advantage. Right ear advantage. This is a very interesting thing that you are going to discover today. That is, if I tell something through your right ear, you will be able to remember more. If I tell something through the left ear, you might forget many elements, many parts of my information. But if I tell you something through the right ear, you will be able to remember more. How will it be possible? Well, it is evident through a research. As I have told you, the left brain deals with memory, language production, and comprehension. So if I tell something through the right ear, then it will directly hit the left brain through cross connection. Can you see that? I said something through the right ear and it goes directly to the left hemisphere of the brain, the left part of the brain. So you will be able to remember more. But if I tell something to the left ear, it will hit the right brain and many informations will be lost, because the left brain will not be able to catch all of those information, because it is not hitting the left brain in cross connection, but it is hitting the right brain in cross connection. So many information might be missing. But in case of the right ear, this is called right ear advantage or REA. If I say something through your right ear, it will directly hit the left brain and it will be able to catch more information and you'll be able to remember more. So while listening to class lectures or watching films or watching informative documentaries, always try to listen through your right ear, then you'll be able to remember more. Am I clear? So use your headphone in the right ear so that sometimes you can hear some conference presentation, you can hear some lectures. So the right ear, if you hear those information through your right ear, you'll be able to remember more information, because it is directly hitting the left hemisphere, which actually deals with memory, language production, and language comprehension. So your memory will be, much more better than through the left ear, because you will be able to recollect or remember more information if you hear something through your right ear, because it will directly hit the left brain. Am I clear? And you will be able to remember more information. As I have already told you, this is known as the right ear advantage. In short, in abbreviation, we call it REA, right ear advantage. So I hope you understand. So this is how human brain functions in case of language production and language comprehension. But is there any role in case of language production for left brain? For right brain actually. I have already talked about left brain, that the left hemisphere of the brain plays major role in case of language production, comprehension, and memory. But what about the right brain? Doesn't it play any role in case of language production and comprehension? Well, actually, the truth is, it definitely has some role. Because whenever we are writing language, whenever we are writing, we are not actually speaking, or we are not actually listening to anyone, we are writing. So what we are doing? We are writing with our hands and we are producing language with our hands. That means through movement, we are producing language. So the right hemisphere of the brain, as I have already told you, the major role of the right hemisphere is motor activity. That means it helps to move our body parts, move our body organs. So in case of writing, the right hemisphere of the brain is definitely playing a major role. So only the left hemisphere of the brain plays the major role in case of language production and comprehension, this is not actually totally true. It is partially true, but the right hemisphere of the brain definitely has got some role in case of language production as well, because whenever we are writing something, we are producing language with our hands. So the right hemisphere of the brain is working here. So I guess you understand. Today my voice quality is not very good because I have caught cold and I'm coughing very frequently. Anyway, as I was saying, the topic that I have discussed today was the role of human brain in language production and language comprehension. I have already discussed a lot of things. I hope this will help you a lot. This will definitely help you in many extents in the field of psycholinguistics, because this is actually a topic of psycholinguistics, the role of human brain in case of language production and language comprehension. I repeat, in short, I'm going to summarize the total topic because time is short. The left hemisphere of the brain, as I have already told you, it plays the major role in case of language production and comprehension. And the right hemisphere of the brain plays major role in case of motor activity or the movement of body organs. Clear? So this is what I wanted to tell you. My discussion has almost come to an end, but you have to actually learn a lot of things about this topic. You can study books, you can actually look at other materials, you can search them in the internet, you can look for other sources, you will find a lot of materials. But I have already mentioned the major parts, the roles of human brain in case of language production and comprehension. The left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain and their roles in case of language production and comprehension. I have talked about aphasia. Aphasia is actually the state of inability to produce and comprehend language. The state of inability to produce language is known as Broca's aphasia. The state of inability to comprehend language is known as the Wernicke's aphasia. I have already talked about all these things, and the left brain plays major role in case of language production and comprehension. A special area located in the left brain that is called Paul Broca discovered this area that is known as the Broca's area, and the Broca's area located in the left hemisphere of the brain plays major role in case of language production. And if somehow it gets damaged, you are not able to produce language. And this state is known as Broca's aphasia, the state of inability to produce language caused by brain hemorrhage. And the other one, there is another area located in the left hemisphere of the brain discovered by Carl Wernicke, that is called the Wernicke's area. So it makes possible it actually makes possible for human to comprehend language. I repeat, Wernicke's area located in the left hemisphere of the brain makes it possible for the humans to understand or comprehend language. So if somehow this area gets damaged, humans are not able to comprehend language. They are not able to understand language. So this state is known as Wernicke's aphasia. Am I clear? Okay. So I would talk about an interesting thing. I would talk about a film that is The World Is Not Enough. I think you have already watched the film. Many of us actually are very much fond of Bond movies. So it's a James Bond film titled The World Is Not Enough. What happened there? There was a villain, the anti-hero or the antagonist of the film, the villain of the film. He had a rare disease. One bullet was shot through his head and the bullet got stuck inside his brain, and that's why he hasn't got any feeling. He doesn't feel anything. If you hurt him, if you stab him, if you try to punch him, if you slap him, he will not feel any pain, because all his feelings of perception, or all his feelings of sensation has disappeared because of that brain injury. And the agency where James Bond works, they actually scan the brain of that villain, and they show that one bullet was shot through his brain, and it got stuck over there, and he doesn't have any feeling. That made him stronger, because he cannot feel anything. He cannot feel any pain. So if you punch him, if you stab him, if you fire at him, he will not feel any pain. That makes him stronger. So you are going to fight against a superhuman. So that's what happened. So human role actually plays many roles. It has got many roles, numerous numbers of roles. But today we dealt with only the role of human brain in case of language productions and comprehensions. Am I clear? Because the way we are seeing, I can see you, I can touch you, I can feel you, I can smell, I can taste something. So all these feelings are connected with human brain. So human brain works for all these things, all these perception or sensational feelings that we get. Human brain is the headquarter of human body. In Arabic, it is called nafs, and the heart is known as ruh. I repeat, in Arabic, the human brain is known as the nafs. That means the sensational force. And the heart is known as the ruh. That means the living force of human being. So anyway, I have discussed a lot of things today. Especially I have talked about a branch of linguistics, that is psycholinguistics, one topic of psycholinguistics, and that is the role of human brain in language production and comprehension. I hope you have enjoyed this session, because I have talked about a lot of things. I have tried to give you a lot of information. I have dealt with psycholinguistics, neuroscience, medical science. So I hope you like the session. And this session might be useful for the students of ELT and linguistics. They will find this session quite handy and helpful in many extents. So thank you very much for attending today's live session. Thank you very much. I will come back to you once again with another new topic. Till then, it's good night from here. Be happy, stay cool, stay fine, stay healthy, and best of luck to all of you. See you again. Thank you.